Hey everyone, for the first part, the first thing you want to do is go in and identify the notes that you were given. So I'm going to start from the bottom and go up. So there's A, C, F sharp, and C. So there are 4 notes, but there are only 3 different notes. It doesn't matter that C was repeated. It only matters that it happened at least once. So the second step is to plot these notes onto a keyboard so that you have 2 third intervals and 1 fifth interval. And for this part, you can ignore any accidentals. So it was A, C, and F sharp. So if I plot it like this, A, C, F, that's a third, but this is a fourth. So that's bad. I need 2 thirds. Let me try again. That's a third, but that's still a fourth, so that's bad. I have to try again. There's only one solution for all of these problems. It has to be this, F, A, C. So that's a third, and that's a third, and that's a fifth. So that's your answer. So after you get that, that means that you have now figured out the root, third, fifth. And then so you go back to your staff, and remember you're in treble clef. So now you just make your little snowman so it's root, third, fifth from the bottom. Root, third, fifth. And don't forget any accidentals. Okay, so for the next part, I want to figure out the root, the inversion, and the chord quality. But for all of these, I want to start with the exact same first step as I did in the last section, which was go in and identify the notes I was given. So I'm actually going to do this one. We're in bass clef, so this is an F and a D and a B. Next, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to plot it on the keyboard so that there are 2 third intervals and 1 fifth. And again, there's only one solution for this. So I need to plot F, D, and B. The only solution that's going to get me 2 third intervals and 1 fifth is this. B to D is a third, D to F is a third, and B to F is a fifth. So once I figured it out, that means I have figured out the root, third, and fifth. So I'm going to start my answer with the capital B, because that means B is the root. So now, to figure out the chord quality, I want to think in the key of the root, a major key of the root. The key of B major has sharps in it. The leading tone is A sharp, because you go down 1/2 step. And then you go to your order of sharps, go to the leading tone and stop. So it'd be F, C, G, D, and A sharp. Now to figure out the major triad, the root is B, the third is some kind of D, and then the fifth is some kind of F. Now I will look in the key signature and I ask myself, are there any F's and D's? Yes, F and D. So I'm going to sharp both of those because of the key signature. Now I'm going to compare that to the notes I was given. Are they the same or different? They're different. D sharp went down to D natural, and F sharp went down to F natural. So if you have a major triad and the third and the fifth are both lowered down by 1/2 step, that means you have a diminished quality. So this is a B diminished triad. And now I look at the note that's on the bottom to figure out what inversion it is. And here F is on the bottom, so I need to write /F. And then I remind myself that F is the fifth. If the fifth is on the bottom, that means it's in second inversion. So just somewhere nearby, write second. You don't usually identify inversions for lead sheet symbols, but just for the sake of this homework, you do. I'm going to do one more from this section because it's a tricky one. I'm going to do the last one. So first, identify the notes I was given. It's treble clef. So from the bottom, I have G sharp, E sharp, and B sharp. I'm going to plot these on the keyboard to find 2 third intervals and 1 fifth. Again, there's only one solution, E, G, B. So that means this is our root, third, and fifth. So I know E sharp is my root, and now I need to figure out the chord quality. But before I do that, I can already even see that I need to write slash G sharp because G sharp is in the bass and it is not the root, E sharp. So now I need to figure out what notes would make an E sharp major triad. E sharp is a weird key because that has 4 double sharps in it. So that's not really a key anyone has ever written in ever. So I'm not going to think in the key of E sharp major. I'm going to think in a key that's actually familiar, a regular key, E major. And then I'm going to convert that into E sharp major. So E major has sharps in it. The leading tone is D sharp, which means that the key signature has 4 sharps, F, C, G, and D, because you stop at the leading tone. So the major triad, the root is E, the third is some kind of G, and the fifth is some kind of B. Then I look at my key signature. Are there any G's and B's? Yes, there's a G sharp. So I'm going to add that in. Now, so this is the E major triad, and now I'm going to convert it into an E sharp major triad. All I have to do is raise all of the scale degrees by 1 half step. So E, the root, becomes E sharp, G sharp becomes G double sharp, and B natural becomes B sharp. So now I have the E sharp major triad, and I'm going to compare that to the notes that I was given. That was E sharp, G sharp, and B sharp. So the third, G double sharp, went down by 1 half step to G single sharp. And when a major triad, the third went down by 1 half step, that means you now have a minor triad. So this is an E sharp minor triad slash G sharp. And the last step is to figure out what inversion you're in. So then I ask myself, which chord tone is G sharp, the root, the third, or the fifth? And it is the third. So if the third is on the bottom, that means it's in first inversion. That's it, you're done. Okay, so for the next part, we're going to do the same thing, figure out the lead sheet symbol, which includes the root, the chord quality, and the inversion, as in which note is on the bottom. But then we have one more step, which is figuring out or converting that lead sheet symbol into a Roman numeral. So I'm going to start with the first one. And same as always, do the first step of identifying which notes you're given. So from the bottom, I have E, A, and C, and I look at my key signature. There's a B flat and an E flat. So I'm going to plug in that flat for the E. So my notes are E, A, C. Now I'm going to plot that on the keyboard to figure out which one is the root, third, and fifth. There's only one solution, A, C, E, because that's a third, and that's a third, and that's a fifth. So that's my root, third, fifth, and now I'm going to figure out the chord quality by looking at the major key of the root, A. So A major has sharps in it, so I need the leading tone, which is G sharp. Then I go to my order of sharps, go to the leading tone and stop. It's F, C, G. So the major triad is A, some kind of C, and some kind of E. Now we'll look in the key signature. Are there any C's and E's? Yes, there's a C sharp. So I add that in, and then I compare that to the notes I was given, which were A, C, E flat. So I look at that, compare this to the notes I was given, or the major triad. C sharp became C natural, and E natural became E flat. So if you have a major triad and the third and the fifth both went down, that means you now have a diminished triad. So this is an A diminished triad. with E flat in or on the bottom. So now we need to figure out what quality or what inversion that is. E flat is the fifth. So if the fifth is on the bottom, that means we're in second inversion. We don't need to figure out the inversion for lead sheet symbols, but since we do have to change it, convert the lead sheet symbol into Roman numerals, we do need to figure out what inversion it is. So the first step to figuring out or converting a lead sheet symbol into a Roman numeral is figuring out what key you're in, because without a key, there's nothing to go off of. You always have to figure out what key you're in. So we look at the key signature. There are two flats, and the directions tell us that each key signature is major. So if there are flats, for flats it's always tonic +1. So +1 would be the E flat. So the tonic would be B flat because it's tonic +1, B flat +1. So I'm in the key of B flat major, so I need to write a capital B and then a flat and then a colon. So to figure out B flat, like you ask yourself what scale degree would A be in the key of B flat. So if you kind of go on your keyboard and think of B as 1, and then you just count up until you get to A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So A would be scale degree 7, and it's diminished. So it needs to be lowercase 7, and it's diminished. So I need the diminished sign, the degree sign. And if it's in second inversion, then I need to write second underneath. Or you can write 6, 4. Either one is totally fine. Okay, so for the last part, it looks pretty scary. It looks like you have 21 different chords to analyze, but the truth is that most of these chords repeat. I think actually all of them happen at least twice. Like there might be actually only like 6 different chords, but they might occur like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. It could be in root position, first inversion, second inversion, whatever. So try to work smart here. Don't just keep analyzing the same chords 6 times in a row. Every time you identify the notes of a new chord, look back to see if it's the same as another chord that you've already done. Also, don't forget about the key signature, right? There are 2 sharps, which means they are F sharp and C sharp. So all of the Fs and C that you see all over here, all of them should be sharp even if there's not a sharp right next to them. Any F and C, like for the example, the first one, it's from the bottom, D, A, D, and F. There's no sharp here, right? But you still have to call it F sharp because of the key signature. That's the whole point of a key signature, so that you don't have to put a sharp in front of every single F and C that you use. Okay, so that one's an easy one, so I'm going to skip it. I'm actually going to do 2 of the trickier ones. I'm going to start with number 10. Note in the directions, it says note that chords 10 and 13 both contain A sharps in the tenor voice. That means this one is a sharp and this one is a sharp. Those are A sharps. And also this section, it's really the same as the part from the first page, the one in the middle, the second part. You're just figuring out the root, chord quality, and inversion. You don't actually have to figure out like first or second inversion, but you do have to write the slash whatever note is in the bottom if it's not the root that's on the bottom. Okay, so number 10, I'm going to go in and, same as always, identify the notes that I was given. C sharp, A sharp, E, and C sharp again. And again, I have C sharps, even though there are not sharps right next to these C's because of the key signature. C sharp and C sharp. Okay, so now I'm going to plot those notes on the keyboard to figure out what's my root, third, and fifth. I need 2/3 and 1/5. So C sharp, A sharp, and E sharp. There's only one solution, A, C, E. So that's my root, third, fifth. Okay, So A sharp is a weird key. It's not a key that anyone actually writes in, because, so here's A sharp, right? And so it obviously has sharps, and the leading tone is 1/2 step down. That's A natural, but you can't have A and A sharp in the same key, so you have to call it G double sharp. So the leading tone of A sharp major is G double sharp. So no one ever writes in the key of A sharp major. That's not a thing. So I'm gonna think in a more friendly key, that one that I already know very well, and then I'm gonna convert that into A sharp. So I'm gonna use A major, and I'm gonna convert that into A sharp major. So A major has sharps, which means we need the leading tone. The leading tone of A major is G sharp. So I'll go to my order of sharps, go to the leading tone, and stop. So the key signature of A major is F, C, and G sharp. So the major triad is A, some kind of C, and some kind of E. And then I look in my key signature and I ask myself, are there any C's and E's? Yes, there's a C sharp. So the A major triad is A, C sharp, E. Now I'm going to convert that into A sharp major triad by just raising all the notes up 1/2 step. So A natural becomes A sharp, C sharp becomes C double sharp, and E natural becomes E sharp. Now I'll compare that to the notes I was given. Are they the same or different? It's A sharp, C single sharp, and E natural. So C double sharp went down to C single sharp, and E sharp went down to E natural. So if you have a major triad and you lower the third and the fifth, that means you now have a diminished quality triad. So this is an A sharp diminished triad. And then I also need to check and see, do I need to write slash something? I do need to write slash something if it's not the root A sharp on the bottom. And here, A sharp is not on the bottom. C sharp is on the bottom. So I need to write slash C sharp. The other chord I'm going to analyze for this last part is number 16. So same as always, identify the notes you were given. So from the bottom, it's E, G, E again, and C sharp. Now I'm going to plot that on my keyboard to figure out what's the root third fifth, E, G, and C sharp. So there's only one solution, C, E, G. That means C sharp is my root. So I'm going to think in the key of C sharp major. Of course, it has sharps in it. The leading tone is B sharp. So I'll go to my chord order of sharps, go to the leading tone, and stop. It's F, C, G, D, A, E, and B sharp because it's leading tone, and stop. So the major triad is C sharp, some kind of E, and some kind of G. Look in the key signature. Are there any E's and G's? Yes, E and G sharp. Compare that to the notes that I was given. They are different. I was given E natural and G natural. So the third went down by 1/2 step and the fifth went down by 1/2 step. So if you have a major triad and you lower the third and the fifth, that means you now have a diminished triad. So number 16, it's C sharp, diminished, and then I check and see, is C sharp the root on the bottom? And no, it's E. So I need to write slash E. And then that's it, you're done.